In today's video, I will be reading from the Nosleep subreddit. So, let's get into it. I grew up in a quiet suburb just outside Minneapolis. Our backyard bordered a patch of woods. Not a full forest, but thick enough to hide the houses behind us. It always felt peaceful, like a private little world. That changed when I turned 15. It was late September. The nights were getting colder, and we kept our bedroom windows slightly open to let out the stale air from the summer. One night, around 2 in the morning, I heard knocking, not on the front door or the back door, but from somewhere in the backyard. Heavy knocking, slow and deliberate. Not the sound of hail or a bird pecking against glass. It was the sound of someone knocking the side of the house with a hammer, or someone else knocking the side of the house with a hammer. 3 knocks. Then silence for about 30 seconds. Then 3 more knocks. Slightly louder this time. I didn't know what to do. My first instinct was to call out, "Who's there?" But what if it was an intruder? I didn't want to alert them to the fact that I was awake. But the knocking continued, and each knock seemed to shake the whole house. I considered calling the police, but decided against it. What would I tell them? Some guy hammering away at my house in the middle of the night. They'd think I was high or something. Instead, I got out of bed and went to my parents' room to wake them up. I don't remember exactly what I said. Something like, "You have to come see this." My dad got up right away, but Mom pretended to fall back asleep. She always did that whenever Dad and I went to check the basement or the garage to see if we had a raccoon or some other animal living in there. We crept down the stairs and out the back door. There wasn't anything there. I tried to explain the sound, but all I could muster was, someone was just knocking on the house. My dad told me to go back to bed while he checked things out. I slipped back in bed and pulled the covers over my head. Maybe it was just some teenagers screwing around. But the knocking continued intermittently throughout the rest of the night. In the morning after, of course, not sleeping a wink, I got up and went to check the back of the house. Nothing. No scratches, no prints, nothing out of the ordinary. But by the fence there was a small stack of stones, 6 or 7 rocks in all, stacked in a rough pyramid shape. But I didn't put them there. I never played with rocks like that as a kid, and besides, I would have remembered doing it. I asked my parents about it, but they also had no idea. They suggested I ask my older brother, but he was at college at the time and we hadn't spoken in weeks. And so the matter was dropped. But that night, the same thing happened. My dad woke up to the sound of knocking and went to investigate. Again, nothing. And in the morning, another pile of stones appeared. This time, the knocking was a bit closer, but still not near my window. A couple days later, the knocking got closer still. It moved from the fence to the back wall of the house. Then, a few nights later, the knocking came to my window. One night around 2 a.m., I was awoken to 3 distinct knocks. I sat straight up in bed, frozen, unable to move or speak. It felt like hours that the knocking lasted, but in reality, it was probably only 15 seconds. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't make any noise. Then the knocking stopped. I don't remember going back to sleep that night, but the next morning I got up to use the bathroom. And when I looked under the window, there was a small pile of stones. There were about 10 rocks total, perfectly smooth and round like river stones, and they were arranged in a circle with a larger rock in the middle. That's when my fear started turning into panic. My parents were no help. They kept telling me it was some animal. Even my brother dismissed it when I told him over the phone. "You're 15 years old," he said. "You're not 5. If you hear it again, just kill it." But how? How do you kill whatever is knocking at your window without knowing what it is? A week later, I couldn't take it anymore. I begged my dad to install a camera, but he kept putting it off. So I took matters into my own hands. I ordered a motion-activated camera online. It arrived a few days later and my dad helped me set it up. But of course, the thing didn't show up in the video. All we saw was a small gray shape darting across the lawn. It could have been a squirrel, a cat, anything. And a few days later, the knocking stopped. We thought it was over. But on November 26, 2011, we found our dog Buster lying lifeless in the backyard. His neck was twisted at an unnatural angle and his eyes were wide and staring. Beside him was a single stone. We buried him the next day, and a few months later we moved. We moved to a place with no trees and no back fence. But even now, on still nights, I sometimes hear it again. 3 slow knocks, soft and distant, like a warning that it never really ended. So I hope you enjoyed that scary story. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.